May 2nd, 1945. The forested hills west of the Elbe River, where the heart of Germany has stopped beating. The air, thick with the scent of damp pine and cold earth, carries the distant, rhythmic thunder of Soviet artillery. It is a sound that has haunted them for weeks, a monstrous drumbeat chasing them west. For Oberhelferin Anneliese Schmidt, a 20-year-old signals auxiliary in the Luftwaffe, the sound is the only thing that feels real anymore. Her world has dissolved into a gray, walking nightmare. The starched blue-gray of her uniform is stained with mud and sweat, the insignia on her collar a meaningless relic from another lifetime. Days ago, her unit, a signals intercept station hidden deep in the Thuringian forest, had received its final order: destroy all equipment, burn all documents, and make for the American lines. The command structure had evaporated overnight, leaving only the primal, unspoken directive: flee the Russians. Anneliese stumbles over a thick root, catching herself on the rough bark of an oak. Her hands are scraped raw. She is one of several hundred soldiers, a motley collection of Wehrmacht infantry, flak gunners, cooks, clerks, and a handful of other female auxiliaries like herself, all moving in a ragged column through the woods. There are no more officers giving orders, only the collective momentum of fear. They are a ghost army, armed with little more than rumors. The Americans, the rumors say, are different. The Americans are professional. They follow rules. They don't seek the same vengeance that the Red Army carries in its steel heart. For Anneliese, who had spent the war listening to the crackle of enemy transmissions, disembodied English and American voices discussing weather patterns and bombing coordinates, the idea of meeting them in the flesh is terrifying. But it is a measured terror, a calculated risk against the absolute dread of what lies to the east. The trees thin. A low murmur ripples through the column, a sound of hope and apprehension. Ahead, through the dense foliage, is a road, and on that road, parked in a casual, almost arrogant line, are olive-drab vehicles. An M8 Greyhound armored car sits silently, its 37mm cannon pointing placidly at the sky. Behind it, a Willys Jeep, its canvas top down, is littered with ration cans and equipment. A tall antenna whips slightly in the breeze. American soldiers, members of a reconnaissance troop from the 2nd Cavalry Group, lounge against their vehicles. They look impossibly large and well-fed. The fabric of their uniforms is thick, their helmets slung back on their heads. One of them is smoking a cigarette, the smoke curling lazily into the cold morning air. They don't look like the snarling, degenerate monsters from Dr. Goebbels' posters. They just look tired. A German major, a man with a hollowed-out face who had taken informal command of their group, steps forward. His hands are held high, empty. He calls out in broken English, his voice tight with the strain of surrendering the last vestiges of his nation's pride. An American officer, a young first lieutenant with a startlingly calm demeanor, walks forward to meet him. There is no drama, no grand pronouncements, just a quiet conversation, a nod, and a gesture towards the road. The war, for this small pocket of humanity, is over. The Germans are instructed to lay down their weapons in a designated pile. Rifles, pistols, a few Panzerfausts, all clatter onto the growing heap of steel. Anneliese has no weapon to surrender. She has only her exhaustion, a small satchel with a change of undergarments, and a dog-eared copy of Rilke's poems. She watches as the American GIs, their movements efficient and detached, begin to search the men. They are firm but not brutal. They are simply processing. This is a job, another task at the end of a long and bloody production line. The relief that Anneliese expected to feel does not come. In its place is a profound emptiness, a dizzying sense of dislocation. She is no longer a soldier of the Reich. She is no longer a citizen. She is a number, a prisoner of war. The column is reformed on the road, and with prodding from the American guards, they began to walk. The destination is unknown. The future, a complete and terrifying void. The only certainty is the cold, hard surface of the road beneath her worn-out boots, and the endless gray miles that stretch out before her. The march begins under a sky the color of dishwater. There are thousands of them now. Anneliese's small group has merged with other pockets of surrender, swelling into a vast, shuffling river of gray-green uniforms. They are a defeated army in microcosm, boys of 16 with the peach fuzz still on their cheeks, marching beside veterans of 40 whose faces are maps of the Eastern Front. The sheer scale of it is stupefying. They fill the road from ditch to ditch, a slow-moving serpent of humanity that stretches for miles in both directions. The American guards are few, spread thin along the flanks of the column. They ride in jeeps that periodically buzz up and down the line, their occupants shouting orders in a language that sounds like rocks grinding together. Other guards walk, their M1 rifles held in a casual, ready grip, their faces grim with the boredom of their task. They are not cruel, but they are utterly indifferent. These prisoners are not people. They are human logistics, a problem to be moved from point A to point B. For Annalise, time begins to lose its meaning. The sun rises and falls, but its warmth never seems to penetrate the bone-deep chill that has settled in her limbs. The world shrinks to the space immediately around her, the back of the man in front of her, his uniform dark with sweat, the rhythmic crunch of boots on gravel, the constant low hum of thousands of hushed German voices, a sound like bees trapped in a jar. Hunger is a dull, persistent ache in her stomach, a beast that has long since stopped roaring and now just gnaws quietly. They are given water from tanker trucks at infrequent stops, and occasionally a hard biscuit that tastes of dust and sawdust. It is never enough. Her legs, which had carried her for miles through the forest, now feel like leaden stilts. Each step is a negotiation with gravity. You see the road ahead, not as a path, but as an enemy. Every slight incline is a mountain, every loose stone a deliberate obstacle. The landscape they pass through is a testament to the fury of the war they have just survived. Villages are hollowed-out shells, their timbered houses blackened and gutted. The skeletons of burned-out tanks and trucks lie rusting in the fields, their metal hides peppered with holes. Ghostly white flags, fashioned from bedsheets and pillowcases, hang from the windows of the few intact houses, desperate pleas for mercy. Annalise focuses on the small things to keep her mind from splintering. The way a dandelion has defiantly pushed its way through a crack in the asphalt, the call of a bird she cannot name. She recites lines of Rilke to herself, the familiar cadence of the words a fragile shield against the encroaching despair. Losch mir die Augen aus, ich kann dich sehen. Put out my eyes and I can see you still. But the poetry fades. Her thoughts grow thick and sluggish. Her comrades are no longer individuals, just moving shapes in her peripheral vision. The shared glances of fear and solidarity from the first hours of captivity have been replaced by a vacant, inward stare. Everyone is locked in their own private struggle. Men begin to fall. They drop to the side of the road with a quiet sigh, their bodies simply refusing to go any further. The guards sometimes shout at them, but they rarely have the energy to do more. The column simply flows around them like a river around a stone, leaving them behind. Annalise does not know what happens to them. She does not allow herself to wonder. To think is to invite a weakness she cannot afford. Her own body is beginning to betray her. A persistent tremor has started in her hands. Her vision blurs at the edges, and a high-pitched ringing sound has taken up residence in her ears. She stumbles, catching herself on the arm of the man next to her, who grunts without turning his head. She can feel her reserves draining away, like sand from a broken hourglass. The will to walk is still there, a tiny flickering flame, but the fuel is almost gone. Her vision begins to swim, the gray road and the gray sky merging into a single suffocating curtain.
The world tilts on its axis. Annalise's knees buckle, and the hard shock of the ground travels up her spine. She doesn't fall completely, but pitches forward onto her hands, the sharp gravel biting into her palms. The noise of the marching column fades to a dull roar in her ears, like the sound of the sea from a great distance. A voice shouts something in English from nearby, sharp and impatient, but it's just noise. She pushes herself up, her arms trembling violently. Getting back on her feet feels like lifting a sack of wet cement. She takes one step, then another. The man in front of her is now 10 feet away. A gap is opening. To be left behind is to cease to exist. She has to keep moving. But her legs won't obey. They are heavy, alien things, no longer a part of her. From a slight rise to the side of the road, Sergeant Frank Tex Miller of the 42nd Cavalry Reconnaissance Squadron watches the column flow past. He's on horseback, a position that gives him a clear view of the endless river of defeated men. The horse, a sturdy bay warmblood he'd found in an abandoned German stable a week ago and nicknamed Dusty, shifts its weight patiently beneath him. Tex is not in official guard for this procession. His troop is providing route security, watching the flanks for any holdouts or werewolf partisans, a threat that has proven mostly imaginary. His job is to sit here, watch, and report. It is mind-numbingly dull work. Tex has seen enough of the war. He'd come ashore in Normandy, fought through the hedgerows, nearly froze to death in the Ardennes, and crossed the Rhine into the German heartland. All he wants now is for it to be over, so he can go home to the vast, empty spaces of West Texas, where the only enemy is the sun and a lack of rain. He chews on an unlit cigarillo, his eyes scanning the gray shapes below. They are a pitiful sight. He feels no hatred for them, no pity either, just a weary sense of inevitability. They are the consequence of a long and terrible equation. Then he sees her. She's not the first to stumble, not by a long shot, but she's right below him, and there's something about the way she moves, or fails to move, that catches his eye. She's small, almost lost in the oversized uniform coat. He watches her go down to her hands and knees, then struggle back up. She takes 2 faltering steps and sways like a sapling in a high wind. Tex knows that look. He's seen it on his own men after days without sleep or food. It's the look of someone whose body has quit, even if their mind hasn't. She is going to go down again, and this time she won't be getting up. A collapsed prisoner is a hassle. It blocks the road, requires guards to be diverted, and slows everything down. His job is to ensure the route remains clear. The most efficient solution presents itself to him with the simple, straightforward logic he applies to most problems. He nudges Dusty with his heels, and the horse steps carefully down the embankment onto the shoulder of the road. The prisoners nearest to him flinch away, their eyes wide with alarm at the sight of the mounted American. A man on a horse has a primal authority. Tex ignores them. He dismounts in a single fluid motion, the leather of his saddle creaking. He hands the reins to a corporal from the guard detail who looks at him with mild confusion. "Hold him," Tex says, his voice a low Texas drawl. He starts walking toward the faltering woman. Annalise sees him coming. Her vision clears for a moment, sharpened by a sudden spike of adrenaline. He is a giant. His shoulders seem to block out the sky. The M1 Garand is slung over his back, but a Colt 45 is strapped to his hip in a dark leather holster. His face is unreadable, tanned by the sun and etched with lines of fatigue. He is moving directly toward her, his gaze locked on hers. Every piece of propaganda she has ever been fed screams through her mind. The American brute, the soulless gangster. They take women for their own foul purposes. He is not shouting. He is not running. He is just walking, his heavy boots making a steady, deliberate rhythm on the gravel. He is 10 feet away. 5. He doesn't slow down. The men around her part, creating a small, isolated space. It's just her and the American. He stops in front of her. He is so close she can smell the faint scent of tobacco and machine oil. He reaches out a hand. It is large and dark with dirt, the knuckles calloused. He doesn't hesitate. His fingers close around her upper arm, just above the elbow. The grip is not violent, but it is absolute, an iron clamp that sends a shockwave of pure, undiluted terror through her exhausted body. Her heart hammers against her ribs. This was it, the moment she had been taught to fear her entire life.
The world shrinks to the pressure of his fingers on her arm. Annalise's breath catches in her throat, a choked, silent gasp. She is too tired to scream, too weak to struggle. Her mind, a maelstrom of fear and exhaustion, presents a dozen horrific scenarios in the span of a single heartbeat. He will drag her from the column. He will take her into the woods. The other prisoners avert their eyes, their faces blank masks. No one will help her. They are all as powerless as she is. This American's will is now the only law that matters on this stretch of ruined road. He says nothing. He simply begins to move, pulling her with him. Her legs, uncooperative and clumsy, stumble to keep up. He is not dragging her, but guiding her firmly, his pace adjusted to her faltering steps. He leads her out of the shuffling ranks and onto the grassy shoulder, toward the magnificent horse that stands waiting, its breath misting in the cool air. The other guard, the one holding the reins, watches them with a non-committal expression. This is it, she thinks. A new, more specific terror blooms in her chest. The horse. He will make a spectacle of her, a humiliation in front of her countrymen. Her mind flashes to medieval tales of public shaming. She braces for a blow, for a harsh command, for the laughter of the other soldiers. But none of it comes. The American sergeant stops beside the horse. He turns to face her, his other hand coming up to grip her waist. The touch is impersonal, practical. He is positioning her, the way a farmer might position a sack of grain. He speaks, not to her, but to the horse, a low, soothing murmur in English that she doesn't understand. Then, with an economy of motion that speaks of immense, casual strength, he lifts. Annalise leaves the ground. For a moment, she is airborne, weightless. It is not a violent or aggressive act. It is a simple, physical transfer. one hand supporting her back, the other under her knees. Before her terrified mind can fully process what is happening, he has placed her on the horse's back, seating her sideways on the smooth, worn leather of the saddle, just in front of the high pommel. She sits there, perched precariously, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. She clutches the front of the saddle, her knuckles white. The animal is warm and solid beneath her, its powerful muscles shifting as it adjusts to her weight. The scent of horse and leather fills her nostrils, a smell from a forgotten childhood, from a time of peace. From this new, elevated position, the world looks different. She is looking down on the heads of the men in the column, down on the American guards. She looks at the sergeant. He is not looking at her. He has turned his attention to arranging her worn uniform skirt, pulling it down over her knees with a gesture of detached modesty. He then takes the reins from the other soldier, gives a short nod, and stands by the horse's head, his hand resting on its neck. He has not smiled. His face has not changed its expression of weary competence. He looks at her only once, his gaze brief and direct, as if to ensure she is secure. He says a single word in English, his voice calm. "Stay." Then he turns and gives the horse a gentle tug, and they begin to move, falling into step with the marching column. The terror did not vanish. It simply changed, dissolving into a profound and bewildering confusion. He wasn't hurting her. He wasn't mocking her. He had lifted her out of the mud and misery and placed her on his horse. He was saving her.
The horse moves with a steady, rocking gait, a living rhythm that is the complete opposite of the jarring, painful shuffle Annalise had endured for days. The warmth of the animal's massive body seeps through the thin fabric of her uniform, a slow, creeping comfort that begins to thaw the ice in her bones. From her perch, she has a panoramic view of the column. It is a spectacle of utter defeat. A long gray dragon, it scales the helmets and shoulders of thousands of men, slithering slowly through a broken land. She sees the faces now, not as a blur, but as individual portraits of despair. The vacant eyes, the hollow cheeks, the slump of shoulders that have carried too much for too long. They are her people, and they are ghosts. A few of them look up at her. Their expressions are a mixture of emotions, a flicker of surprise, a flash of envy, perhaps even resentment. A woman on an American's horse, riding while they walk. But most don't look at all. They keep their eyes fixed on the ground, lost in the private hell of their own exhaustion. The American sergeant, Tex, as his comrades call him, though she does not know this, walks beside the horse's head. He holds the reins loosely in one hand. He does not look at her. His gaze is fixed forward, scanning the road ahead. He is a man performing a task. The problem was a prisoner about to collapse and disrupt the column. The solution was an empty saddle. For him, it was likely that simple. There was no malice in his initial action, and there is no tenderness now. There is only a profound and startling pragmatism. This realization is, in its own way, more shocking than the act itself. This was not about her. It was not a personal gesture of kindness or cruelty. It was the decision of a capable man solving a problem with the resources at hand. And yet, the result is the same. She is not walking. The sharp agony in her feet has subsided into a dull throb. The world is no longer threatening to go dark at the edges. She can breathe. For the first time in what feels like an eternity, she is not fighting a losing battle against her own body. They pass a wrecked German staff car, overturned in a ditch, its doors flung open like broken wings. They pass a field where local women are digging for potatoes, their backs bent in timeless labor, ignoring the river of defeated soldiers flowing past them. The war has rolled over this place and moved on, and life, in its most basic form, is already reasserting itself. The sun, which has been hiding behind a thick blanket of cloud all day, finally breaks through. Its late afternoon light slants across the landscape, bathing the scene in a soft, golden glow. It illuminates the dust motes kicked up by thousands of boots, making them dance in the air like tiny, glittering insects. It catches the red hair of the American sergeant, turning it to burnished copper. Annalise watches him, this enemy, this strange savior. He is just a man, a tired man, far from his home, doing a job he surely never wanted. The complex ideologies of the war, the grand speeches of the Führer, the carefully constructed walls of hatred and fear, all seem to crumble into dust in the face of this one simple, inexplicable act. He saved her from collapsing, and he asked for nothing in return. He has not spoken another word.
As they approach a crossroads where a temporary collection camp is being set up, he finally stops the horse. He turns to her and for the second time looks her directly in the eye. He gestures for her to dismount. With his help, she slides stiffly to the ground, her legs weak and unsteady beneath her. He gives a final curt nod, then swings himself up into the saddle with an easy, practiced movement. Without a backward glance, he turns the horse and trots away, disappearing into the olive-drab machinery of the U.S. Army. Annalise stands alone for a moment, watching him go, before another guard directs her into a crowded, muddy field with the others. She is a prisoner again, just one among thousands. But something inside her has shifted. In the heart of total war, amidst the collapse of her entire world, a Texas cowboy had grabbed her, mounted her on his horse, and in doing so had shown her a sliver of humanity she had forgotten could exist.